The story of the weeping woman has many different versions. The one that will be told is the version that was told to us when growing up. There was a young woman that fell in love with a man. They decided to get married. At first, everything was fine. They had 2 kids together. But later on, the man was unhappy and started cheating on his wife with other women. When the wife found out her husband was cheating on her with other women, she got upset and wanted to get back at him, so she took both her kids with her to a nearby cliff. Below the cliff was a river, as payback to the husband. She was going to throw both her kids off the cliff and into the river so they would drown. After realizing what she had done, the wife jumped off the cliff into the river to try and save her kids, but it was already too late for all 3. Her punishment now is to search every river or stream to find her kids. At the same time, she is weeping, crying, and yelling to find her kids. Parents would tell this story to their kids to make them behave or to not go out at night because she would be there to drag them into the river. Started off with this story first because this happened to one of my family members when they were young. Here's how their story goes. My aunt and uncle, along with their 3 kids, live on a big property that they own. In their backyard, there was a stream. Along with the stream, there is a small bridge that the water flows under. Cars would use this bridge to travel back and forth. In this stream, there are certain areas where it was shallow, mostly in the middle, and not a big deal. But to the left and right of the stream, it was deep and where the most water would be at. Now you have a layout of the property. One night, of course, it was raining. My cousin, let's call him Brett. Brett was probably around 7 years old, and boys around this age don't want to take a bath before bed. Brett was being very stubborn and refused to take a bath. But somehow my aunt got him to take a bath after all. She stepped away for a few minutes to check on her other 2 kids. Now Brett is alone taking his bath when he hears someone crying outside the bathroom's window. Brett, of course, says hi and asks, "Why are you crying?" The person outside the window replies with, "Searching for my kids. Have you seen them? Can you come outside and help me find them?" The next thing you know, my aunt is screaming because Brett isn't in the bathtub taking a bath. She calls out for my uncle to help her find Brett. They notice the side door wide open and they go outside to search for Brett. Both of them are yelling and screaming, "Brett, where are you?" But no answer from Brett. Somehow my aunt knew to go towards the stream. That mother intuition kicked in for her, and a few feet away from the stream there was Brett walking towards the stream. My aunt ran as fast as she could to get him before he went into the stream. All 3 went inside to dry off, because remember, it was raining that night. My aunt asked Brett why he went outside without telling anyone. Brett said that he doesn't remember going outside. He was in the bath taking his bath when heard a woman crying outside. She was searching for her kids. As soon as Brett said this, both my aunt and uncle knew who it was. It was the weeping woman, trying to claim their son. Even after asking Brett what happened that night, he still sticks to his story. He was taking his bath and never went outside. That stream is no longer there, and it was covered over with a lot of dirt. Lots and lots of dirt to make sure no stream would return. Every city or small town probably has this same story about the lady in the road. There is a road near a small park, and the road curves a little when getting close to the park. When a car is driving late at night on this particular road and the road starts to curve, the lady will appear in the back seat of the car. Drivers at first notice nothing in the back seat, but then again they get a strange feeling and turn to find a lady seating in the back seat. The further you drive away from the small park is when the lady disappears from the back seat. Some say that it's not a lady but a nun who needs a ride to get where she is going, about an hour away on a back road. This back road is somewhere located somewhere out in the country. The same thing happens, but mostly car accidents occur because the driver is so freaked out. that there is a stranger in the back seat that came from nowhere. They crashed their car into a ditch, or ran the car into a tree. When they get out of the car and search the back seat, no one is there. This happened to two of my uncles that were coming home from the bar one night. They told the story to my grandparents, but everyone believes that they were drunk that night, and that is why they were in an accident on that road. They insisted they were not drunk at all. They only had a few beers only, not enough to make them drunk, and a lady was in the back seat of the car. There is this high school that is haunted. Not going to name the school. Many strange things occurred at this high school according to many witnesses. Here is how the story goes. On Sunday afternoon, a bunch of kids were playing and riding their bikes around the school. Nobody cared because the kids weren't hurting or doing anything bad. The kids were being kids and having fun. That's until one of the kids noticed a window to one of the classrooms was open. Now these windows back in the day was a high window, and the only way to open it was from inside, and you had to have a big ladder to open the window. But there was no ladder anywhere, so how was the window opened? The only ones there were the kids. No one worked on Sundays at the high school, so how did it open? Of course, daring each kid to be brave and go check it out was something, until we all agreed to go together. We all went and found nothing wrong. To get a better view inside, we stood on top of each other's shoulders, but still nothing. We left there and continued being kids and playing around, until one of the kids yelled at the rest of us to go back to the window. They noticed something inside the classroom. We all ran back to the window, and this time we noticed something that wasn't there before, a head. All of us were trying to get a better view, until something happened that all of us kids weren't expecting. The head moved on its own. The head turned to stare at us. We all ran as fast as we could. One of the kids ran home to tell their parents what happened, and then the police came. They searched the classroom and found no one inside. The police did find the head, but the head wasn't a real head but a mannequin head. We all tried to explain to the police officers what really happened, but of course they weren't going to believe little kids with their wild imaginations, even if it was a plain mannequin head. That head moved on its own, and why was the window opened at all? Being kids, we were never told what actually happened that day. But as everyone got older, we all found out that the school was haunted. This story takes place out towards the country. The name of the road will not be mentioned. It will be called the back road in this story. If you're on this back road, you noticed there's not a lot of houses in the area, maybe a few farmhouses and small houses. They are not close to each other, but again, not far from one another. This story was popular growing up. Everyone in school knew the story, especially during Halloween, because that's when it happened on Halloween a long time ago. Here is how the story goes. It was Halloween night, and there was a couple fighting with each other who lived in one of the small houses on the back road. The fight got out of hand, and the wife decided to leave the husband. She went out the door, and the husband was not having it. He grabbed the axe that was by the door and went after the wife. The wife noticed her husband carrying the axe, and she tried to get away from him because she knew what was going to happen. She yelled for help, but no one was around. He raised the axe up into the air and struck his wife many times. As some of the neighbors from around the area came to trick or treat, they noticed what was happening but figured it was all a Halloween prank. That's until the next day when the neighbors found his body. He had killed himself because what he did to his wife. If you go out there on the back road around midnight, you can hear the screams for help and orbs of lights floating around the area. It is more active on Halloween night since it happened on that day. This story takes place out on a back road. Yes, all the stories are always on back roads, but that's where all the good stories come from. Anyway, there's an old bridge on this back road. If you're brave enough to visit this bridge, You will notice under the bridge there's a pentagram spray painted on the wall. At midnight, if you take a penny or your thumb and place it in the middle of the pentagram, you will get a visit from the devil who will be under the bridge. Are you brave enough to try this and find out?